Hi. Welcome back to Storytime in the Meantime.
Welcome back to Storytime in the Meantime. It's been a minute.
It's been a little bit since we last did this. We've
Yeah.
had a few weeks of lots of life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's one way to put it. But yeah, it's been a minute. How you been, bro?
I've been good.
Seen you. I mean, I have seen
Well,
you,
yeah.
but we haven't sat down and seen each other like this.
We haven't gotten to do this. We haven't gotten to
Yeah.
do this in a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. When was the last? Was it before New Year's that we recorded our last podcast?
I think it was our New Year's podcast.
That's crazy.
Was the last one we did.
That's wild. Yeah,
It's already almost the end of the month.
Yeah, it's January 21st when we're recording this.
Yeah.
Damn, that's wild, bro. So what's up with you? What's new in terms of, I guess, work, acting-wise? Anything new that you want to
Nothing.
let people know?
Nothing really new on the home front. I just recently found out about a I guess voiceover competition thing that's going on down in LA that I'm going to be submitting for this next week.
That's fun.
That'd be cool. I think it's kind of just like surprising enough, I think it's like America's Got Talent version of voiceover acting.
Oh, shit.
Is like that's their intent. It's like more like a behind the scenes thing. I don't think they're
that's still pretty cool, though.
advertising it super widely.
That
but it's
means it's well-known or well-recognized.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think it's being done by iHeartRadio.
Mm-hmm.
Down in LA, and it's like first place. I think is like $1,000 a 1-year contract with them.
Damn.
And then and you get to like go down and get some like one-on-one voice lessons with some famous voiceover actors. So I was like, sure, why not?
Why
That'd be
not?
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're moving down there anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be moving down there in April. So that's
Sweet.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. It would be cool.
Sweet.
What's been up with you? I know we've talked a little bit, but for everyone here.
Yeah. I mean, I just started going on tour with Rosebud Baker as her media production person, camera guy, videographer, whatever you want to call it, photographer, all of the above. So that was fun. That I got to do that last week, which was the last weekend, which was cool. I was down in San Diego. We had shows. San Diego's fun, a lot of fun. The shows were great. And I got to go kind of explore the city a bit too, take some photos and stuff for myself. But overall, yeah, things are looking good. Things are looking very good, actually.
Nice. Dude, that's so awesome.
Yeah. But other than that, nothing else is new. Just work grind and yeah. But
Just casually went on tour with a stand-up comedian. Nothing other than that. Wasn't really anything.
yeah, I mean,
Dude, that's big news. That's awesome.
That is cool. It's exciting, but it's also very exhausting. So I guess I'm still recovering from the exhaustion of that trip, especially this week was just editing clips from that. So I think I'm still getting over the exhaustion from the whole trip.
That's fair.
The trip doesn't feel like it's ended yet.
Yeah.
Even though I've been back home for like a week, almost a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of the year kind of looks like that. So I'm just excited for that. Next stop is Pittsburgh next month. And I've never been to Pittsburgh, so I'm excited about that.
Check out Primanti Brothers when you go.
Somebody else, I think, said, or was that you? Did you mention?
It might have been me twice.
Somebody else mentioned that too.
Dude, it's good. It's like pastrami sandwich.
Oh, I'd say less.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's delicious. You can't throw it up against cats, but it's still
Different cats, by the way.
It's
Where this is not the movie.
Once again, I'm name dropping cats.
Just so, because I think now it's a running meme between the listeners that when are we doing cats?
Soon.
A review of cats.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. Watch out.
Soon.
Maybe next episode.
Soon will be now soon.
Oh,
By next
I like that.
episode.
I like that.
By next episode, I will have seen and watched cats. And seen and watched, meaning I watched it twice.
Eaten.
And, well, I wish.
Well, going back to, you said cats, like the pastrami
like the
sandwich.
meow,
Yeah.
like the,
No, when we were talking
different cat.
when you were talking about, what's the spot in Pittsburgh you just said?
Primanti Brothers.
Primanti Brothers. Okay, I'll remember that. I'll write it down so I remember that. But yeah, I'm excited for that. Isn't Pittsburgh your favorite football team?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a cool city. Highly recommend. Like
Cool.
I mean, I've only gone for sporting events, so
Yeah.
nice, but good food. Like,
Okay.
cool. Like when you're downtown, cool
Mhm.
cool bars and stuff to check out and food places. So
Okay. Dope. That's good to know. Even though I'm trying to lose weight, but I don't know if that's gonna be happen. But regardless, we were in San Diego though. One of the days, we all went before the shows and watched this scary movie called Megan. I don't know. Have you
Wait.
seen it?
Is that the? I think I've seen the trailers for it. Is that the
Yeah.
one with the creepy girl that's
Mhm.
supposed to be
like a doll, like a
Yeah, it's like Chucky but larger.
Yeah, it's like life size. I think like 4-foot doll. It's supposed to be. It's a robot doll.
Okay,
That's what it is.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like a robot that turns evil. Robot doll that turns evil. And it was an interesting movie. It was an interesting movie.
I'll never watch it, so you should tell me. How
Yeah.
does this go down?
So the story basically goes, there's a kid, I think she's like a 10-year-old girl who, the opening scene is like her and her parents going into like driving through a snowstorm to like a ski resort. And the parents are like kind of bickering and the kid is in the back like on her iPad, and the kid has like right next to her like this weird looking like creepy, not that creepy, but like a weird doll. It had weird teeth. The doll, like the stuff, it was a stuffed animal / doll that had like weird human looking teeth.
Yeah, stuff things shouldn't have teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it looked creepy,
100%.
but she was playing, you can play with it like with your iPad. So she was like busy
Play with
doing-
a doll with your iPad?
Yeah. So she was like doing that, and the parents were like fighting, like, oh, she's always on the iPad, blah, 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 whatever. They're in a fight, and the snowstorm's getting worse. So the wife just goes like, oh, we should like pull over to the side. The husband's like, but we got to make time, blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, a plowing truck just comes. You'd see headlights pop up from the windshield of a plowing truck, and it just kills. They get in a crash, and the parents die. The kid gets thrown with like her aunt, her mom's sister, and the aunt is like a techie in Portland. It's based in Portland, but the aunt gets custody of the kid, and to avoid spending essentially time with the kid, she makes this robot that's like 4 feet tall doll named Megan.
And it's like, here's your friend.
Here's your friend. And then it's just like the AI or the robot just like starts getting like wild on its own, and that's kind of like the story. So it was like, it was a mid movie, but it was still entertaining at parts. I find scary movies very funny.
Okay.
So I enjoyed it because how dumb it was, some of the scenes. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like I like playing a game with the editor of a scary movie to see where like the next jump cut or like the scare cut is gonna be, like where the jump scare is gonna be. Sorry, I can't talk.
I was following.
Yeah,
I was following
where the
along.
jump
Yeah.
scare is gonna be, where the next cut of jump scare is gonna be. So like that's a fun game I like to play while I'm watching it, and when I'm right, it makes me even more happy. But it was I would say like 4 out of 10.
Okay.
So not great, but it was still like
Well, it was watchable. Yeah.
it was watchable.
Okay.
I think I saw on somewhere last week after watching the movie that they were coming out with a sequel. So I'm interested how
Ugh.
that's gonna go.
That sounds
Yeah.
4 out of 10 movie coming out with a sequel.
Yeah.
Nice.
That'll be interesting.
That sounds.
Yeah.
I'm not. See, I'm so just not a fan of horror movies. Like it
Yeah.
just yeah.
I like watching horror movies with you though, because they're more fun.
Yeah. I make it so much more fun for everybody else,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's such a ride that I don't know that I want to be on.
Yeah.
It's like when your eyes are bigger than your stomach and you go and get in line for a roller coaster, and it's like as they're strapping you in, you're like, you know what? I don't think I want to be here anymore.
Yeah. I don't think I want to get on this
Yeah,
ride.
yeah. Then you're like, it's too late. You're here
Yeah.
now. You're like, well,
What movie was it that we all watched one time in college? Like it was a packed room in me and Chandler's room. And you were just losing your mind.
Was it one of the Insidious movies
Maybe.
or The Conjuring?
Might have been The Conjuring.
It was number 2 of either one of those. It's either Insidious or The Conjuring.
I just remember the room was almost packed. There were a lot of people hanging out in our room.
Yes.
I think it might have been over summer. And you were just
Screaming.
Yeah.
I was like, to the extent that I remember somebody messaging in the group chat and be like, whoever has the girl that's screaming upstairs, You need to tell her to stop. I was like, sorry, that's me watching a horror film.
Oh my, fun times. Yeah, from watching a scary movie is fun with you. It's just, I think watching a scary movie with anyone who it gets easily scared by scary movies is so funny. Easily
frightened.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's like, it's not even. Well, no, sometimes it's the actual concept itself. Like, I don't do well with paranormal things.
You don't?
No, for whatever reason.
So interesting.
Because it's like my logical brain knows it's not real.
Well,
when I get in the movie aspect,
I don't know, bro.
And I'm like fully immersed.
Is there no part of you that's like, what if?
No part of me.
Isn't that a cool story though? If it was?
No, not at all.
Seriously?
No, I don't find it cool. I find it horrifying.
Yeah. There's apparently like
The Exorcist. There's in no world where someone goes, "That's a really cool story, though." Somebody got possessed and was like climbing upside down on the wall. Like, no.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. It's cool. So I find it something about it is kind of cool.
That's fair.
If it's like, I don't know, it's creepy for sure. It's for sure creepy and spooky, but I still find it cool though. There's like a weird, ominous thing to it.
Yeah. No, I understand how like people can find it and like find it interesting and cool. Just like, and I guess
have you ever
from a movie standpoint, like I can objectively like look at the movie and look at its premise and be like, okay, that's a cool idea, or like that's a cool premise. And then if I watch it, the majority of the time, it's like Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs didn't scare me. Because it was so grounded in, I guess, grounded in reality in my brain of like there was no paranormal stuff. It was just psychopaths.
Yeah,
like, that's all.
That is more real.
Yeah, I was like, for me, I no problem with that because all of that made sense.
Yeah,
I think it's when stuff doesn't make sense in my brain, and then it's scary on top of that, where I'm like, oh, this is extra scary.
I see.
Because there's just no logic to be had.
I see.
It's like Halloween. Like Halloween was like the tiptoe line of like most of it made a lot of sense, but then you just couldn't kill Michael. And then I was just frightened. Also the ominous like
that's half of the scary movies are like it's the soundtrack plays a huge role in scary movies, which is why I find it fascinating playing that game. Because I'm following the soundtrack and also watching the scenes to see where the jump scare is going to be. So it's like it's a fun game to play for me with the editor as an editor. But that is creepy music though.
Yeah, it's like I understand like the reason I will scream at the TV and movies to be like, don't go in there, don't open the door. And I know the sequence of events that's gonna play out because it happens every time of like eerie music starts, show the creepy thing behind the door, jump to the other side, walk down the hallway towards the door, and you're like, open the door, nothing's there. Pan to show like at the inside of the room, and you're like, as soon as you jump back to show the person's face in a close-up, there's gonna be something else right behind them. It's like, I know it's gonna be there. See, and I'm just like,
but you still get scared.
Yes,
even though you know all those steps. Because a regular watcher, like maybe who's not deep into like movie making, or like just a regular person watching, I don't think they go through those steps. They're just watching what's like, oh, okay, this is how the story is going.
No, like in my brain, I'm like 2 steps ahead where I'm like, oh, you're walking down the hallway. Oh, the next thing that's going to happen, you're going to open the door. There's no going to,
you still get scared.
The thing's not going to be in there. I still get scared every single time.
That's wild. I guess that's good for you. That still works. You can still enjoy a scary movie for how it's made to be enjoyed.
Well, enjoyment is a word.
But you love watching scary movies though.
No.
At all? I've definitely heard you say like, let's watch a scary movie.
Every once in a while, but it's like, again, it's like good.
You will like thrillers.
Yes. Yeah.
Thrillers.
I like thrillers.
Thrillers that have scary aspects to them.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say. Because like Silence of the Lambs, you were saying, that's more of a, it's like twisted and scary in sense of like.
But I wouldn't call it a horror. I would call it like a thriller. Mm-hmm. Like
Is there a difference between horror and scary?
I don't know. like when I think of like horror,
Mm-hmm.
I think of like The Exorcist, Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. So you know about that movie?
Yes.
Because okay, this is a very side tangent, but
Yeah.
so you know how we go with our friends weekly trivia, right? One of the questions on last week's trivia was about Pinhead, the guy from Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And I could picture his face, and I knew it was I knew it was something with hell, and I guessed Hellraiser, but nobody had heard of that movie in the group, so we didn't put that down. But that's what the answer ended up being.
Oh, is it just like what movie is Pinhead from?
What trilogy is the character Pinhead from?
Oh, okay,
and I was like, oh, I think it's because I've never seen it, but I know of the movie. But yeah, that's just a side tangent.
Yeah.
I was like, you knew it. If you were there, we would have gotten that point. I would have had backup. But regardless,
I don't even watch horror movies, but I know. That's like I know enough of.
Okay, so when you think of horror, those movies come to your mind.
Yeah, like I think of. I don't know. I guess when my brain goes to horror instead of thriller.
Well,
when I think of thriller,
there's definitely a distinction between thriller and horror. But I'm asking, like, is horror and scary the same? Or, like, would you say a thriller movie that has scary aspects is horror, and then scary movie is scary movie? Because when I think of horror, I don't in particular really think of, like Megan. Megan wasn't horror. It was, like, a scary movie, but which wasn't even that scary, honestly. Like, we all walked out of the theater being like, that wasn't scary at all. There was one scene that was kind of like, oh, no, okay. But, like, even that, I would say it was, like, mid, you know? It wasn't, but there was just one scene. Like, Silence of the Lambs, even though I haven't seen it, I know the story and, like, what it's about. I would classify that as, like, a thriller horror.
I don't know that I would. I don't know. The way that my brain
because it's just horrific. Like, it's, like, those characters. That character in Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you have horrific characters. Like, The Godfather has horrific things in it.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's a thriller drama. Yeah. Like a drama thriller.
Like the way that I kind of qualify things for the horror category is if its plot premise is to be scary. Like the plot premise of Silence of the Lambs is like the progression of Clarice and her relation with Hannibal Lecter. It's like but like if you look at The Exorcist, like the plot of that movie is a demon possessing things.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Like,
I like that. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
That's like how my
I think that's correct. I mean, at the end of the day, everything comes down to plot and story.
Yeah.
So whatever the story is written as, I think that is how you would classify a movie.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have well, actually, to kind of bring things to a more recent thing. Not that this is horror, but with The Last of Us that just came out.
Yeah.
That has horrific events in it and scary things, but it's not a horror.
Yeah.
It's like I would consider it a thriller. Part of me wants to say sci-fi, but it's not a sci-fi.
When is it taking place? There's
science involved. It's like 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's present. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not sci-fi, but it would be like.
I mean, it could still be,
apocalyptic.
It could still be sci-fi, even if it's
thriller.
in present. You can have like an alternate timeline. Like, it doesn't have to be the actual timeline we're living in.
I think I think it is supposed to be like. It's funny because of how relevant it is with like the COVID-19.
Yeah, the pandemic. Because I heard that like it starts. I still need to watch it, and I don't care that I know about the show before I watching it. It makes me even want to watch it sometimes more. But I've heard that it starts by like a couple scientists talking about stuff like back in the 70s or something about pandemic, and then it's like to now. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they open up speaking about like like the possibility of like different diseases and infections
and
like,
pandemics.
and like biological diseases, and then they start talking about what are the possibilities of like there being like biological warfare or different stuff like that. And one of the things they end up talking about is like fungal infections.
Yeah, fungi.
Yeah,
right.
And how like with different fungal infections, there's specific different fungal infections that can happen that if like, you know, if there was ever a reason for them to mutate to a point to like the whole premise of like what these two scientists were talking about was, one of them was talking about like, you know, if there are fungal infections out there that are so dangerous
that can take over
that it would just decimate the entire global population. And the other scientist retorts with like, well, you know, like humans don't have to worry about that because fungi don't survive above a certain temperature, so they would never survive inside of the human body temperature. And then the other scientists came back with, and it was funny how they related it to climate change and everything. He was like, well, think about a global event where for whatever reason the global temperature raises, and now
everyone has to adapt.
It's like now the fungi has to adapt and has a reason to be able to survive in warmer climates. Now that would then present the possibility of it surviving in a host with a warmer body temperature than previous. And that's basically like how that then spans out. It was like a mix of like a way more deadly contagious version of COVID-19 based from a fungal infection and like looping in climate change. And I was like, very well done. Yeah.
That sounds, it looks also, all the characters seem very interesting.
They're amazing. And they I'm a huge fan so far of the show because one of the biggest things for me when I watch something that's an adaptation from another medium, for people that don't know.
Oh yeah, because it's from a game, right?
Yeah, it's a video game series.
So you can go and actually play the game and you know how the show will end.
Yes.
That's funny.
Well, so I guess I can't say I know how the show will end because I don't know how they will end up playing things out. But so far, they have done a fantastic job of staying true to the storyline from the game, where, like, to the extent that the first episode, excluding that initial kind of, like, background knowledge thing that you get from, like, looking at the cover of the game and kind of, like, some of the intro content of, like, reading the blurbs and stuff of the game and whatnot, that you don't get for a TV series and, like, you know, for, like, the suspension of disbelief to kind of, like, supply that. Everything else outside of that 100% lines up with the storyline from the game. And
that's cool.
I'm a big fan of them doing that because it's, while for people that have played the game, you're able to predict what will happen. Watching it play out and seeing it be done, they do such an amazing job with the acting and with just like all of like the sets and the plot line and everything that it, and the storyline itself for the game was so amazing that I have no problems with it. I have no problems with knowing exactly what happened. Like I knew exactly. So there's a scene in there where Joel's daughter, for those of you that haven't watched this yet, pause this right now, go and watch the episode and then come back.
Because you're about to spoil.
I'm going to spoil like the vast majority of the episode. All right, now that you're back.
Or you can probably fast forward to like 5-10 minutes in this episode. Yeah. To skip that part.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now that you're back. There's a scene, like the scene where Joel's daughter dies before they time skip to further into the future.
Okay.
So it's like they start at like 2003.
Yeah.
It shows Joel, who's played by Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And his daughter is Nico Parker. Yes.
Okay.
Nico Parker.
Okay.
She does a fantastic job. But the scene that they kind of work their way up to, they do a great job of building up Nico's character and establishing that, you know, father-daughter relationship and all of that. And as all of this starts to unfold and things start to just go haywire and basically like this disease starts to break out, they have this really intense sequence of trying to escape town and brushing into. It's like World War. It's like any beginning to a zombie movie ever.
Yeah.
Where all hell starts to break loose
Okay.
and things go crazy.
Okay.
She doesn't end up getting bitten, but they get in a major car accident and she's injured.
Okay.
And they end up making it out to a military
base.
Yeah, kind of like a pop-up military
Health clinic.
No, not necessarily health clinic, just kind of like zone.
Okay.
That's
zone,
kind of
okay.
just been like, it's like now being taken over and controlled and like patrolled. And Joel is carrying his daughter, and dude, I'm already getting emotional. He's carrying his daughter in his arms.
Yeah.
And she's injured, and they come up to this zone and get caught.
Yeah.
And they're trying to explain, like, like, we're not infected. This injury is from something totally different. And the military officer like gets on the radio and he's talking with you can like, can I hear like the Charlie Brown like wah 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 wah. You can make out bits and pieces and get the gist of like, oh fuck, like this guy is gonna have to shoot these people.
Why?
And just because of the worry of like that they're infected and are gonna spread it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so they reach this climax of, as an audience member, that,
and then probably as a
not-
game player.
yeah, exactly, and that's the crazy part is like, even knowing how all of this plays
You played
out.
the game?
Yeah, I played the
Okay.
games. Fantastic.
Okay.
Even playing the games, like how it's gonna play out.
Yeah.
And you're watching this, and they do such a good job of building up that intensity. Like, you've got the way they set up the cameras, like it's right behind Pedro Pascal a bunch of times, so it's like it shows you like with his face, and there's a floodlight on him, so you can't really see. Then it shows you from behind him, and you're kind of blinded, and then you can like see the silhouette of the guy, and you can like hear him on the radio, and just like the way that this actor is responding of like, okay, yes sir. Yes, sir. No, but
Yeah.
yes, sir. And then like he goes through this sequence, and you're like, okay, I don't like. You can tell that he's providing this information and not really sure. And then there's it's such a short line where he's like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you're like, oh no. And then
the
inflection in his tone of just like himself.
He's just
like,
giving up.
Yeah, he's like, God, I'm gonna have to do this.
Yeah.
And
wait, so he kills his own daughter?
No. So sorry, the military officer shoots at Joel and his daughter with his daughter in his arms.
Oh.
And
wow.
And just that's like that scene, like right after he shoots them, they fall back into the ditch. Joel's like not mortally wounded, and it's like Joel gets up and he's like checking himself, kind of grazed, and then he like looks over,
and she's dead,
and that's the hard part. She is dying.
Oh,
and goes over and like comes up next to her, and she's bleeding out, and that
damn,
to kind of like provide some background of like how the actors did it.
Yeah.
I was watching a thing after watching the episode, and both Nico Parker and Pedro Pascal chose not to rehearse that scene.
Oh wow!
So they hadn't rehearsed it when they ended up doing it, and so it was just kind of let all of that emotion build up, and then just kind of let that go.
Wow!
And
wow,
to not rehearse a scene in general, difficult, and builds up a lot of anticipatory emotions.
I bet, yeah.
And it's a lot more comfortable. Like the more times you try to like get through a scene, and the more you practice it, the more you're like, all right, I feel good about this. So it's like on its own to not rehearse something, that's a challenge. To do it as like Nico Parker's like 18 years old, so to do it as like a young actor, she does a phenomenal job.
Man, that's impressive.
And like the scene itself is just heart wrenching.
It sounds heart wrenching, but it makes me want to watch the show because it sounds like a good show.
It's such a powerful scene.
Wow.
And then it immediately jumps from that, time skips to 20 years later.
Oh, okay.
Which is spot on how the game handles things. And so then
is it the gameplay? Is it so far you said that it's like scene to scene. It matches the
with a couple exclusions, like that beginning piece, and then they include something else.
So
in
you're
the
telling me
show.
that I can just go watch all the the movie scenes that are in the game, and that's basically the show.
With a little, you would get the overall gist if you were to watch the video game accompaniment of like the cinematic scenes.
Yeah, because they have those, right? In between levels.
Yeah,
you get the little
you get the cutscenes and whatnot. Yeah, so I mean between the, or if you just if you watch the opening tutorial gameplay of The Last of Us, you would get the first episode of the show.
That's funny. That's just them saving time and money on like script and like storyboard.
It's like it's a perfect instance of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. But it sounds like a great show though. I'm excited to watch it. I just have to get HBO. That's all. I don't have HBO.
That's true.
Yeah,
but it's
unless
fantastic.
one of you want to share your HBO with me. I didn't say that. Who said that?
If the comments just happen to be there.
Yeah. DM me. No.
But no, it's a fantastic show. Bella Ramsey, who plays, wow, I'm spacing now on the main character's name. But Bella Ramsey plays the girl that ends up, kind of like being the central focus now of the new thing. I'm trying not to spoil. I mean, I already spoiled a lot.
I mean, you spoiled the biggest thing probably in the first episode, so I don't think you should take a step back now.
Anything else?
I don't think it doesn't matter anymore. Ellie Williams.
Ellie, yes. Bella Ramsey plays Ellie, and it's cool to see the kind of opposites between how Nico Parker and Ellie's character, and Bella Ramsey's characters respond to similar situations with Joel. So like, for instance, both of them have an instance where they are present while Pedro Pascal kills somebody.
Okay.
And not just kill somebody, but kill somebody to protect them. And I'll let all of you watch this to get this for yourself, but just pay attention when you're watching both those scenes where those end up happening, paying attention to that, of how both of them respond, and you start to notice the kind of like the differences in how they feel based on that, and how that kind of, the way that I'm viewing this is how that ultimately, like my knowledge from the games, how that ends up playing into how those relationships develop into the future. Granted, his daughter, Nico Parker's character, is dead, but they do a good job of like giving you enough backstory to understand their relationship and how they feel about things, and then the progression further on is going to be with Ellie. But I thought it was a very interesting thing to note and to view. But 10 out of 10, can't recommend it enough. I think it's a great show.
I've heard only good things about it so far. It got rated as one of the highest TV shows on IMDb so far.
Oh, really?
Even though it's only one episode, so I don't know how. Because it's like I saw a post about it, how it's like the highest rated TV show of all time, and it's like a 9.5 rating.
Wow.
Right underneath is Breaking Bad, which is a 9.5, but like that's a whole series,
right.
of like 5 seasons.
Yeah.
But there's only been one episode, so I don't know if it'll hold up.
Right.
Hopefully it does, because that'll be amazing. Because Breaking Bad is one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Oh yeah,
I love that show. I've seen that show so many times, and I can talk about that forever.
And that show.
It's such a great show. It's a slow show to get into for sure, because nothing really happens until episode 7 of Breaking Bad, which is, I think, the episode where what's his name?
Bryan Cranston.
Walt goes into Tuco's place and blows his place up with like fake meth. I forget what the compound he used, which was basically like hydrogen something that he just blows up his whole spot. And after that, the show it's crazy how the show goes. So it's like a slow start. So a lot of people kind of give up after the first few episodes because they're just like, oh, just boring. But it's such a great show.
Yeah.
Just that whole story is the arc of him from first episode to the last episode, where, spoiler, he dies, is insane. That whole arc of that teacher is like, that character is insane. And same with Jesse Pinkman's character from the first episode to the last episode. And then also they came out with the movie. I don't know if you ever saw the movie.
I never saw the movie.
El Camino, I think that was the movie called.
Yeah.
Which starts at where the show ends. Literally, the opening scene of the movie is the last scene in Breaking Bad, which is like Jesse's character driving off into the distance through the fields in an El Camino. That's why they named the movie El Camino. But yeah, I love that show. I love that whole story. I feel like I just want to break down that show like on this podcast. I would be so happy if we did that. But yeah, it's rated The Last of Us next to Breaking Bad, which is like very cool. I guess that's a good accomplishment for the show.
Yeah, no, props,
but it probably
props
sets
to that,
a very high expectation as well.
There's that too. Well, and it's challenging with people's attention spans, and those decreasing, and people wanting to be like, I want action, and I want like, entertain me now.
Yeah,
where it's like it took 7 episodes of Breaking Bad for you to rightfully so. Like, you know, when you read,
you're setting up a full like you have a story in mind that you want to go. Like,
exactly.
What's his name? Vince something. The creator of Breaking Bad, Vincent something.
I have no idea.
I forget what his name is, but his mind is just amazing. I'm pretty sure he wrote the whole thing and directed most of the episodes. But his mind is just crazy. That whole storyline, like, you have to set it up properly. Like, he's a high school chemistry teacher at the starting of the show who's diagnosed with cancer, and like how he gets into becoming the drug kingpin of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Like, you need to give that story a time,
right?
For it to
it's
be
not
really,
something that you can just rush.
For how good the show was, you need to give it time to set up the whole first base of like every character. Like, who is this character? Who's this character? And then, I love that show. I love that show. I want to watch that again. I'm probably gonna I'm not gonna watch The Last of Us. That's the sad part that I now, honestly, to be completely honest, I don't watch that much TV, like new TV or new movies that often, because I guess I'm like slave to one of the instant feedback, and also just like listening to a lot of podcasts and watching a lot of podcasts. I don't find time to just sit back, relax, and like watch a good TV show. Yeah. But whenever I do, I just go back to like the old ones that I really love.
Yeah. It's tough. Like, there's so much content now that it's like, man, I don't know how to
Vince Gilligan. That's who the creator is.
Vince Gilligan?
Yeah, sorry. But keep going.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, it's so hard to siphon through everything to find things that are actually
it's
worth
insane.
Watching.
There's so much content out
which
there.
is partially why a lot of people are like, if you are not able to entertain me now, like, then I'm not gonna, people don't want to sit through 5 hours or 5 episodes,
which is good
worth of
and bad in a way, because like it makes storytellers it pushes them to make more compelling stuff. Yeah, I think so. At least
I think so. But it also, it makes it. I mean, it makes it increasingly challenging to come up with things of how do you hook people so strongly to get them to sit there and then listen to your exposition to build your story out. Because, like, in order to tell a good story and set up character arcs, you gotta build up the characters, and you gotta build up these relationships with them.
But you also need a good story. Yeah. Right. That's the end of the day. Like, you really need a good story, because, like, if the premise of the story is good enough, people might stick around for the character development. Yeah. So it's like, it's definitely a tricky situation of where you're like, it's good, but it's also bad.
Yeah.
So,
But then, I mean, and then you have the challenging part of like, how do you, like, what are the, there's few techniques that you can use to, or that are, I should say that you can use, that are commonly used to hook you into that good story, right?
yeah.
Tragedy
Yeah.
is a giant one of like, you do a quick little bit of setting people up and building relationships, and then you rip it apart, and people go, "Oh, wow!"
Yeah.
And then you're sucked into it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like The Last of Us, the first episode, that's a good example of just tragedy. Like I haven't seen it, but like from what you just explained to me, it's like this
Oh yeah,
daughter-father character or duo, and they're trying to escape, and then out of nowhere, tragedy.
yeah.
She's gone.
Or like,
And then cut to, you're like, wait, what happened? Wait, now it's 20 years later too? Wait, what is he up to? Like, what? What?
yeah. And it's or like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You just like
Yeah.
at the end of the first episode, or
Bran get pushed out the window, and
Yeah.
you're like, I'm sorry, what?
What?
Yeah,
and then he survives. Wait, what?
yeah,
And
yeah,
at
like-
the end of the first season, yeah. So it's just like those being willing to take those chances is huge.
yeah.
Is huge in story, like writing a script or writing a screenplay. Being able to take those huge chances and be like, okay, now where the story is gonna go. Because I think like for me, the hardest part about like I want to write a short film. I want to make a short film, but I'm having a very hard time writing it because it's like I don't know what's a compelling story, like, and what decisions do I want to make with this character, and am I willing to let go of characters? Because I feel like for a lot of people who write like films and movies or TV shows, people can get attached to characters, you know. So it's a tricky. It's very brave and a huge step to be like, oh fuck that character. That was it. And now I want to see where can the story go? Because that's what I find fascinating about it is because like you come up with a story and it's good as this great character, but then if you're willing to kill the character for whatever reason, now what are you left with? Like the world you just created and you kill the main character of the world.
Disrupted.
Where can the story go now? And that's an interesting point to be in, I feel like, as a writer.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just listening to something from Stephen King the other day, and he was talking about part of his writing process and how he chooses to develop things. And when he writes, he doesn't. The only parallel I can draw here is like when you write or go through like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Sure,
And
I have no idea where this is going because
stick with me here.
Don't know that game.
But basically, the premise of how you write in that and how you do things is, you build up characters and their personalities and their attributes, and you place them in the world, and they live out those lives of how they would normally interact in scenarios given certain circumstances. And the way that he writes is similar in he creates his characters, but he doesn't create an arc for them. He creates them and their personalities and then writes and progresses the story with them. And as things happen, as he chooses to do things with the characters and they do things, he lets that flow naturally. And there are instances in different like books that he said that he's written where he was like, man, I didn't want to kill those characters, but he was like, that's where they went. And he was like, as he made these characters and their personalities and they had things develop and unfold, people ended up dying. And he was like, that's just what it is.
Yeah. And that's a trippy concept to think about because you're like, but you are the ones who created. Like,
you're the writer, but you don't know where it's going.
That's a trippy concept to think about. And I think that's why I'm having such a hard time, like, coming up with a screenplay for the short because I have an idea and I don't know if I told you the idea. Did I tell you that idea?
I don't think so.
I don't know if I should tell the idea. I mean, it doesn't. I don't really care. It's probably done quite a few times. Like the premise has
like
probably.
We can discuss it not on air.
No, it's fine. I'm no huge fucking person. Nobody cares. But basically the idea I have is a kind of a detective thriller story esque type where essentially there's a deadbeat detective and he's career is going nowhere. He's just like kind of like run down and just like not doing well in life, probably depressed. And he gets a letter in the mail for a case. And he opens it and he's reading through the whole letter. And basically, this is this kind of like a scene I have in my head. It's like the camera pans down of him just kind of reading. And then the last few lines, he just realizes that this is the case for his own murder.
Oh.
So I don't know what.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's probably a premise that's been done before. It's nothing completely brand new, but I'm interested in that story to like write it and see what I can make a short film out of it.
I think that would be really cool.
So
I think it would be cool.
Yeah.
I would watch it. I would watch it.
But I feel like that would be a cool story to explore. But I'm definitely having a hard time of being like, okay, who is this character? Who is this detective? What is his life like? Yeah, sure. So he's a deadbeat. Is he divorced? Does he have a family? Is he deadbeat, like a shitty family? Is he a shitty father? Does he have kids?
I don't know.
You know,
these are tough things to.
And as soon as I start thinking about those things, I'm also like, okay, what is the budget for this movie? Because I don't maybe I don't want to show that he has a family because I can't afford to hire that many people.
Oh, I would just focus on. I would say, focus on creating the story first, and then try to find the money for things later. Okay. Because if you're worried about writing something, and you're worried about the financials while you're writing, you're not going to end up creating something that is truthful. Yeah. And like the way that a story is going to be impactful and is going to impact people is if you're writing from a place. Honestly, if you're writing from a place of emotion, if you're writing from a very truthful, emotional place, and you're willing to be vulnerable, that is what drives connection. Yeah. With storytelling.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And like with films especially, the whole reason we go to movies and experience them and choose to keep coming back over and over and over again. Is the emotions. Yeah. Is the emotion. Is that connection. That's from a human standpoint, that is like the basis of why we tell stories. Yeah. And a visual story, or a story that can be visualized like books, or just sitting around a campfire telling stories.
I think that's the favorite part for me. It's just the sharing part. Yeah. Like being able to sit around a campfire and just talk about stories. That visual to me is like the kind of the essence of this podcast for me. Oh yeah. It's like story time in the meantime. Like that's just like, that's kind of what I think of. And I think that's what I had in my mind when I decided to like ask you to do this with me. Because that's such a great feeling of you just sitting around with your friends and people are just sharing stories, and some are shitty, some are okay, some are like, okay, whatever. But like, then there's a great story.
But every once in a while.
Yeah, there's a great story. And it's like, oh, okay, tell me more. Yeah. Wait, what happened next? Yeah. What? No way.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. And that's that to get vulnerable for a moment, like that with storytelling. The piece like one of the strongest pieces of why we tell stories is to explain emotions and feelings that you can't put words to. Yeah. That's why things like love, things like tragedy, things like horrific scenes like genocide and murder that you see and all those things. When you go through things in life and you experience things like that, you reach a point where you're like, am I the only person that feels the way I'm feeling? Am I the only person that has experienced something like this? True. You go, and movies and TV are a way to visually comfort, in a way, to have this cathartic emotion of release and feeling that of like, oh, there is another instance of another human that I can visualize that has experienced what I'm experiencing. And because you can't put words to it, no, but you can put a feeling to it. Yeah, and that's what movies do, and that's part of why I love movies so much, is because they have that power to do that, and that's why I love acting, is because that is what I want to do. Is I want to share stories and be a part of that for somebody else, to allow them to see something someday and feel something so strongly that it heals them or it enlightens them or it makes them feel like a better person or have a better life or something. Because that's why we tell stories. I mean, there is also the biological thing of like, part of why we tell stories from a biological standpoint is humans possess the ability to experience things, how should I word this? Yeah, humans possess the ability to experience something and learn, or to learn from something without having to experience it for themselves. AKA, let's jump way back in the day and like when you're first foraging for food, and you know, you're going out and you forage poisonous berries and somebody comes back and goes, hey, that made me shit a lot. Yeah. Don't eat those berries. You can go, all right, I don't have to go eat those berries. Or even better, like you're out hunting and Grog gets eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. You come back and you tell everybody else, Grog got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. And everyone else goes, all right, we're not going over there anymore. There's a saber-toothed tiger. Other animals don't. They just, you know, well, that's why like hunting works. You can just come back to the same spot. And, but humans possess the ability to share stories, and from a survival instinct standpoint, it's crucial to our survival. And taking a different form in the, you know, with the modern civilization, but still the same premise of it's how we connect with one another.
No, it is. It is definitely how you connect with. You hear a story that either connects with you at any level, it changes the way you feel about the person.
100%. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. You could hate the person or have like preconceived notions about someone, but as soon as you like, there's that one story that makes you be like, oh wait, okay, I can relate to that. You'd see the person in a different light.
Exactly. And that's part of the beauty of it. Like you can relate to somebody else. Like, oh my God, you possess empathy. You can. Oh yeah. you can put yourself in someone else's shoes. As long as you're not a
sociopath.
Yeah.
Yes. You possess.
Yeah. You can relate to somebody else and it builds relationships and it builds connection.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. I think stories. I feel like not being able to tell a story would make me go crazy.
Oh, I would lose. Oh my God, I would lose my mind.
Because like I can talk forever. It's funny. Oh, yeah. It's funny. One of our friends who listened to the podcast told us that I don't know if you were there or they told me, they're like, if I had to guess like two people to start a podcast, I would bet on Chase and Sarthak because they never shut up.
Perfect. Now we just have microphones and a platform. Excellent.
But yeah, dude, I think that's almost an hour.
No way. Is it actually?
Yeah, I think we're 57 minutes.
Man, I had so much more things to talk about.
Me too. We barely got through. I was like looking at the list topics to discuss, and we didn't touch any of these. So we still got Avatar. We got this script to screen post
God,
that I shared.
I love script to screen.
Yeah, I think we should talk about that in the next episode.
That's one of my favorite things to do. Especially, my favorite part about script to screen. Actually, my two favorite parts. From an acting standpoint, I love it to get, and I have a few script books at home that I just will read through just for practice. Yeah. But reading a script, trying it myself, even if it's films I've already seen, I try to go a while until I've seen it, and then I practice characters. Then I go to script to screen and I will at first like have read the script, then I will go to script to screen and will see how they do with the script, and it's so much fun to see like my interpretation and then the actor's interpretation, and then be like, oh, and then like one of my favorite things ever is when they're ad-libbing. Yeah. Off of either, and I don't know if it's I guess like last minute notes. That I guess
let's just talk about,
or if
let's just talk about this post because we're already talking about script to screen. But I sent you this post of basically where it's watch these actors bring your favorite scenes to life, and it's literally the top half of the post is the actual scene from the movie. And then the bottom is just rolling the script while the scene moves along.
We can leave it muted, but
yeah. This one's like from the new Spider-Man movie. Yeah. where all three Spider-Mans are talking, and it's just all three Peters talking to each other. And it's cool to see how this whole scene, they match word to word to the script. There's not that many ad libs, and to see their expressions and how they're playing it is super cool. But then you move forward along, and then there's the scene of Jordan Belfort and Jonah Hill's character in Wall Street, The Wolf of Wall Street, and there's so many ad libs in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
That is so fun to watch.
It's so, yeah.
Because they're just playing the character. They're literally the characters, and they know the gist of the scene. They'll say still the script lines. They might change one or two, like grammatically. They might change it according to who they think the character really is.
Yep.
But they'll also throw in like a couple lines. Like for this one, actually, I do want to raise the volume so we can hear it. But you see, that line's not in there. Yeah, I do all right for myself.
Yeah.
It just says the next was Jordan 70 grand last month. But you got, yeah, I do all right for myself. And then see that whole interaction in there. Like, sequence. I don't get it. Like, just tell me how much money you make. And then he goes like, oh yeah, 70,000 last month.
But that's such a like,
they're in the character. Natural. Oh yeah, they're just like ad-libbing as the character, like who they think the character is gonna be. Yeah. Jonah Hill, like it's like, okay, this deadbeat guy who's like runs a kid's furniture store is married to his like second cousin or some shit. And Jordan Belfort is just like, yeah, I'm a stockbroker. This is what I do, but this is like who I am, and he's just playing the Jordan Belfort character.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay. And it's just so fascinating to see. It's just
go to the Heath Ledger one.
Oh, I think it's
that one.
Right?
That one, yeah.
The monologue.
God, that's just one of my, like the because there's some ad libbing in this one, but there's not a whole lot. But just with this, like, I love seeing, and to bring this back to Batman that we talked about last week, like Heath Ledger's understanding of his character and his version of the Joker, like within this monologue, and you can see it when you follow along with it, of just like the different inflections and tonalities that he chooses, and like pacing. It's like, it's all
like right there. He just went from being the whole like crazy Joker to like very serious, very controlled. Even though his character at its soul is chaos, he's controlled in the way that he's talking, and then very quickly is like is angry and talking to her. That switch,
and then switches to like thinking about his mom and when he was or his wife, and he's like, oh, I'm so sad.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then she did this to me. And you're like, oh my God. But I love script to screen, just to follow along with all of the different.
It's such a great
just to see how actors have done it, and then to see the accompanying script of what was written down, whether that's originally or like whether that was the final cut that was then ad-libbed off of. Yeah, it's so cool to see those two put side by side, and to see. I mean, for me, from an acting standpoint, see how how actors play. Yeah, and it's because that's what it is. It's just playing,
and that's why like acting is so like the actors are so important. Like, because without their interpretation of the character, they make the story come to life. Yeah, it's like what they choose to do, and that's why good actors are great. Bad actors are horrible.
Yeah, that's why there is that discrepancy.
Yeah, there is a reason.
There's a very low floor and a very high ceiling.
And it truly is like Leo, whatever you want to say about the man, but like he's an amazing actor.
He's an amazing.
He's an amazing actor. It's insane, his expression. Like he just brings every character he plays to life, and he like lives up to it. Like, I guess he is who would you say, like a method actor in a sense almost, because like
I believe he was
at least on
trained
set
in method acting.
At least on set, like I just say it because of the scene from Django.
Yeah.
Where
where his hand starts bleeding and and he stays in character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that whole and like Revenant, the whole movie as it was a very difficult movie to shoot and to be that character.
Method acting gets a bad rap because method acting is a very not in the sense of like the
I think it gets a bad rep because of
Jared Leto and
certain actors who like take it too far to the point where like even when you're not working, you're still trying to be that character, and then
if it's detrimental to other people.
If other people don't know that you're playing this character in a movie and you're still being that character, and let's say for a fact that most of the times people are like method acting, it's not a jolly character.
Yeah.
So you're just
you're just using method acting as
to be an asshole.
To be an asshole.
Yeah. So at that point, the frustration from other people or like it's justified, it's valid because you're just being a dick.
Yeah. Like nobody was method acting to go be,
I don't know, any
Bob the Builder or Thomas the Tank Engine. Like,
I mean, those are also cartoons. But
I don't know. That's funny. I was trying to think of what's the Tom Hanks movie? Was it Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Rogers, yeah, Mr. Rogers. I guess.
Like Tom Hanks wasn't.
I mean, Tom Hanks almost is like that in real life too. I think so.
But like like
nobody's going around playing a happy character as like a method act, like method acting a happy character because it's like whatever. It's mostly always like a character who's like twisted in the head or like something has some issues.
Yeah, that's why method acting gets a bad rap. Like Daniel Day-Lewis, method acting for Abraham Lincoln. Like, that's a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is a fabulous actor. But, like, method acting as a whole isn't, let me live this character outside of my life. Method acting is, what can I bring from my personal life experiences to help bring me into this character's headspace? When whatever combination of my own emotions and my experiences that I can bring to this character to help bring that to life.
That's interesting.
That's method acting. It's using the internal to express the external. Where there's other types of acting like the Meisner technique of acting. Sanford Meisner uses the external to influence the internal. You come in understanding your character up until your scene in that very moment. But when you go into a scene, you're not bringing your character out and forcing it into the scene. With the Meisner technique, they come in and you come in as a blank slate, and however your scene partner acts, you respond to that the same way you would in any normal conversation.
I see.
From the headspace of knowing how your character would react.
I see.
Whereas with method acting, it's I know how my character interacts in certain situations, and that's what I'm going to bring to things.
I see. Oh, okay, that is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
The differences between those two.
Yeah.
Are vast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get people that have trained in both and are fabulous in both. Like Sam Rockwell is a Meisner trained actor. He's just one of the first people that popped into my head. And then you have people like Daniel Day-Lewis who does method acting and does do a good job of like not being a dick outside of, but does, stays in his characters for a really long time.
Yeah.
Then you also have people like Joaquin Phoenix who does, or Christian Bale. I mean, like there's so many actors that go to extremes for like physicality wise of doing things to get into character to help fit the bill of what that character is supposed to look like, and it helps portray how they act and stuff.
It helps them feel that way, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But like those are other like method acting, but like the overarching umbrella that gets thrown out of like method acting is like the horror stories of like Jared Leto sending like decapitated, was it pigs' heads or something like on
that.
The cast of
Joker?
No.
Can you play the Joker?
I
don't.
Suicide Squad.
Oh, Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Suicide Squad.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Like stuff like that gives method acting a bad rap. Method acting itself, in and of itself, isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. I find it very interesting. It's fascinating for sure. All right. I think that's the first. Not the first. That is the episode. I almost said that's the first episode.
That is the episode.
That is the episode.
Next week we'll come back and talk more, and we'll talk about cats, and
we'll talk about cats.
We'll talk about cats.
We'll review cats next week for everyone who's looking forward to that review. But until then, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thank you all very much. We love you. Have a great week.
Peace.